my age and my position and place in life right now, I don't need much. I'm kind of like at a stage of cruise control, so to speak, where as far as the workplace, I've been my own boss my whole adult life, so I don't have that type of stress coming home of coworkers, of a boss, of a nagging people who work with me. I don't have those type of frustrations. I'm not governed by a time clock or a scale of I'm overworked and underpaid. Like I hear these stories all day, but I'm blessed to the point where I understand like that's not my plight in life. So, I appreciate that. So when I get home and because of how my setup is, like my child is grown out of the house, divorced 8 years now. So it ain't like I got no woman at the house who's nagging me, and that's a whole nother situation. But for people who do, I would expect that to be like peace. Like a peaceful place. So if I did have a woman at home, that'll probably be the only thing I look for is peace. But I always tell people I like the fact that I can go home to a clean, quiet home the way I left it. And that's all I really need. I'm like, hell, shit, I don't even need to eat at night most times.
Right.
Like I'm at that point in life where I'm like, yeah, man, let me just get an apple or an orange and lay back and relax and plan my day for the next day type of thing.
That's what's up. That's what's up. You up?
I'm in your boat. I actually played both sides. So I was in the workforce for quite some time years ago, and then about 8 years ago, I decided to take matters into my own hands because I can understand the stress of being in the corporate world. Now, the corporate world, I'm not saying it wasn't for me at the time, and if somebody's in it, cool, blessings to you. But when you see how things are run, there's a level of stress that comes upon when you go into work, no matter how much you give to a job, not knowing what, when you come back the next day, if you're going to be there, and I can understand how that brings such a stress to us as men anyway. But then I took a turn and decided to take the jump and become an entrepreneur 8 years ago. And that's a whole nother level of challenge and a whole nother viewpoint. Because now it's not like you're leaving it in somebody else's hands to take. Now it's in your hands. So that's like, okay, beforehand I go clock in, check in, do all that other stuff. I hate my job, but you're still clocking in. It's consistent. Now it's like, oh, I love what I do, but it's all on me now.
Let me ask you a question about that. Do you celebrate your wins, or do you kind of like, does the failure get to you more than the wins?
You have to celebrate the wins in order to keep persevering through. You have to, because you know that there's going to be those bumpy roads, right? And I've been through a few of them where it was just like, I might need to go back to that 9 to 5 again, right? But then you look back and you say, well, why did I get into this in the first place? What did I love about doing what I'm doing now that has me driving through? And God also sends affirmations through people and other things to tell you, hey, this is what you're in. But you have to celebrate the wins.
Yeah, people have to constantly remind me to celebrate the wins.
You have to.
Where I'm at. It's like, they be like, man, you've been in business. The location I'm at now is 10 years now.
Wow, congratulations.
Thank you. Yeah. And I started like owning my own business when I was 26. Wow. And sometimes it's just like all I look at is what I need to do instead of what I've done already.
Right.
And I constantly have to be reminded by like my clients, customers, friends, family, like, yo, like you really like a doing success story. Yeah. And I'm just I ain't doing enough.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Like,
yeah.
It definitely sound like an overachiever, right? Like like you get it's on to the next.
All wins count.
You have to celebrate the smallest of ones. You have to take time to. I think sometimes when we get caught up so much in the, I have to do the next thing to do better, to make more, to reach a certain level of success, right? What the world says, what's successful, that's what we have to attain and reach. And we don't take time to really sit back and meditate and take to account what it is that we just accomplished, right? If you think about you being in business for the last 10 years, Like how many other shops and store owners that have been around you that have opened up and closed within the first year?
Yes.
Because as business owners, if you ever been around one, they'll tell you crazy stories about how they opened up last week and closed on Sunday.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
It was it's like I told you last night, when a person who works in one of my dudes who work in the shop with me get a new vehicle, that's a win for me. I'm like, he got that vehicle based on the traffic he getting from what I established,
Right.
type of thing. And it's just like, I know they depend on me a lot for certain things, but when I see the guy next to me, he just get a big new truck for him and his family, and then the guy next to him get 2 cars and put them on Turo, I'm like, I'm doing something right.
Right.
Like they eating here.
Right.
Yeah.
And like you said, the turnover rate, I'm just like, they've been there one since day one since, month 2. Ain't too many shops that I've seen where you have people who've been in there for 8, 9, 10 years. And it's just like, this my family now. These ain't even the dudes I work with. Everybody can get a key to my home.
Yeah.
Type of stuff.
Wow.
That's good stuff, though.
Yeah.
That's good stuff. And let you know that you bring value to your community, though.
I try.
You bring value.
Yeah.
I love it. Going back to the question, I say, what does a man need to be able to face another day? Vision. I think you got to have vision when you get up in the morning. That's something to strive towards. Clarity. Clarity is huge too, because sometimes, and I think most of us are in the entrepreneurial field here, we're business people, so to speak. And if you don't have clarity, you can just be running around in a circle thinking that you're doing a lot of activities and that not really producing anything.
Real.
Right.
I love what Kert said in regards to celebrating the wins. I don't know if I'm a big proponent of celebrating every win. Some of this stuff is just kind of crazy. I think we definitely need to have a sense of self-compassion. That's something that I'm working on this year. I think 2023 for me is the year like, okay, Mike, have some self-compassion with yourself. Because if I can't have it with myself, I definitely can't have it with other people.
Right.
Because I look at people like, man, that's like you just graduated. Like,
Yeah.
you're supposed to. Yeah. Right? Like you're in business, you're supposed to make money, etc. But the added value I heard from Kert was actually the people making the people around him better. So that's awesome. So if you get up and you have the vision, the clarity, and then you have the want and the need, and you actually serving people, like we all want a purpose in life. We want to wake up with a purpose.
Yeah.
So if we can wake up with a purpose, we fine. If you don't have a purpose, you don't have vision or clarity or any of those 3 things, you wake up depressed.
Right.
You're going to wake up at 4 o'clock in the morning and be like, man, what am I doing in life? And then is it worth it? You have those type of questions that pop up. And so, I think that's what a man needs in regards to, being able to face, quote unquote, face another day. Fellas, y'all keep striving out there. I don't know if y'all know, but the suicide rate has went up. I think it's like
picking up.
Yeah,
I've
it's
seen
8% in men. Which was crazy to me when I heard that number. There's a higher suicide rate with men than there is with women. Like that's
vision and clarity.
Yeah.
You said it.
So it was, go ahead, brother.
Purpose was a big word you
Yeah.
just said, and that just kept ringing in my head, because I think waking up, because we, believe it or not, we all have a purpose. We were all created with purpose and a purpose for something, to do something. We all have a gift. We all have a talent. We all have something that we were blessed with to add to this world. But a lot of people are walking around this world not knowing, and especially our brothers and ourselves. Sometimes they don't walk. They walk around like they wake up next day. All right, what am I supposed to be doing today? What do I do today? I got this, I got that. How do I fulfill this? And they just feel like they're just in a reverting cycle of just nothingness. And they don't have that purpose as somebody to instill in them. And the other thing too is community. I think the big word you said was community, but not just a community, but community of men like us, or just people that we trust to say, hey, I'm really struggling with this today. I'm really struggling with that today. And I think that's one of the reasons why the suicide rate is so high as it is, as long as some other things. But I think one of the biggest thing is not having a community around you that you can trust well enough to say, hey, let me be vulnerable enough. That's why I'm grateful to be a part of this discussion, because there needs to be more of this going on in our communities than we know.
Absolutely.
And I think this right here will be at least a light to open doors for this thing to happen, whether there's a mic in front of us or not.
Yeah.
That we need to have these conversations. That's why I love barbershops. You go in that bad boy, there's gonna be a lot of stuff
Oh yeah.
said in that bad boy.
And-
But there's gonna be a lot of enlightenment. There's gonna be some things, there's gonna be some crazy stories, but there's gonna be some wisdom in there as
A lot
well.
of wisdom in the shop.
There's
A
gonna
lot
be
of
some wisdom
And
in
you
there
know
as
what's
well.
so crazy when you say about purpose? I just start taking heed to that word purpose. I'll get up in the morning and I have my plan, I have my vision, I have my clarity, but I never thought about purpose. I'll just kind of like go about. It'll be like my clients need me, my customers need me. It's like I was gonna go on vacation for a whole week, for 8 days. I was supposed to
tough
fly
for you to
out
do it.
today. I just took the L because soon as they said you want to be on this show, I'm like, hell yeah. Like, and two, I'm still looking at like my clients texting me and reaching out, and I'm like, they need me. I can't just leave for 8 days. Like, people need me. And I never thought about purpose until about a couple months ago, and I'm just like, yo, I need to start sharing my wisdom like the bigger
Yes,
stage instead of just with the
Yes.
people who sit in my chair or people who randomly come in and out of the shop.
For sure.
And it's just like, it's like a blessing in disguise. It's like a breath of fresh air for me because now, like you said, instead of just vision and clarity, now I be thinking about the purpose. I'm like, yo, the people need me. They need to hear my stories. I need to share my wisdom to the youth because I was able to raise my son a certain type of way. It's a lot of people who's struggling to get their child in a certain, in a certain lane in life. And I'm like, as parents, we all want our kids pretty much in the same lane.
Yeah.
Like, very few parents want their kids to be so far to the left or so far to the right. We all want our kids to be productive citizens in society,
For sure.
staying out of trouble, doing, decent in school. I mean, somebody's best may be a little lower than somebody else's, but, that is what it is. But we all want the same things in general. So like you said, when we shared wisdom in the shop, parents, I had like women reach out to me and be like, thank you, Kurt. My son, he be lit up every time he leave the shop.
That's awesome.
And I'm just like, I ain't telling him nothing different than you and Pops telling him. It's just, it's
Hear
coming from
different
a
perspective.
Yeah,
Right.
Somebody else, a different
he,
voice.
He think I'm cooler than his pops because I look younger and I dress different. Meanwhile, I'm like 4 years older than his dad. And it's just, I'm talking that shit when I'm in the
Right.
shop. So
Right.
his dad ain't talking that shit. He see his dad saying, hey, boy, listen to your mama.
Right.
And I'm like, hey, check this out, young fella.
Right.
When you do this, when you do that. And it's just like, man, Mr. Kurt said this, Mr. Kurt said that. And I'm like, I said the same shit your parents said. But I get it because I used to be that.
I'm gonna tell you what,
Sure.
because I got to give Kurt his flowers while he's here. Roses, brother. Nah.
Some.
So I always tell the story because it had to be about 12, 13 years ago when I used to go in
I
the
was
shop.
cutting you at my first shop.
Well, so
Yeah.
about 13 years ago, Kurt put me on to the book Think and Grow Rich. And I tell the story all the time. I say, Kurt, we was in the shop and get my hair cut. Kurt was like, man, you tell you this book, Think and Grow Rich, Think and Grow Rich. I'm like, what is he talking about? You know what I mean? Like, what is it about? Yeah, you got it. And he's telling me about it. I'm telling you. And I went out and I got it and read that book. Brother, I went out and bought like 5 books and I was giving them away to people. Like, this is crazy. Now, every time someone says, so where did this, how did you start in this, thinking about the law of attraction, just coming from a different perspective and mindset, because I never saw this when I was growing up.
Right.
We was taught never to, don't turn down nothing but your collar. That's where we came from. Don't turn down nothing but your collar. All money is not good money. Not me. I'm trying to, you trying to go out there and get it. But when I read that book, I started reading the Bible different. Because now I'm looking at the Bible and I'm like, okay, so, because, everything to me come from that, you know what I mean? Like,
Right.
there's a lot of wisdom in there. So you go back and you look at that book, but it made me interpret it and see it differently. So I said, man, I just, since Kurt is here, I said, man, let me let Kurt tell it to his face, because I'm telling everybody else about
What's
it.
up?
Appreciate it.
Yeah,
We need, to
shouts
do
out.
more, we need to do more of that, by the way.
Yeah, man.
Give-
Celebrate with brothers.
Celebrate
another
people
brother.
while they're here. And I think the impactfulness that you have, it transcends generationally. That young man that you're talking to, whether his dad tells him something or not, he's going to create a place where he can do the same thing that you impacted in him. So I think everything that we do, and that's the thing that ties in with purpose. It comes with purpose, but it's also an impact, because you're impacted, whether it's your kids, whether it's somebody that you're in contact with, a client, folks at the church, you're impacting somebody's life. And you won't see, sometimes you may not see it 2 or 3 years down the road, but you'll look back, they'll come up to you and they'll be giving you flowers on a live podcast.
Absolutely. Let me get the pastor in there. What's the pastor talking about?
Why you do it like that? Go. So no, for me though, I mean, just piggybacking off of everybody, for a man to carry on another day, not just in the workforce, but in life, period. I agree with you wholeheartedly with clarity, vision. I agree with the purpose. But I understand one thing. I want to add confidence, right? Knowing who I am. When I know that I am a gift, I have a gift, and I am gifted.
Absolutely.
It separates me from everything else. Now watch this.
That's different.
When I know that I am a gift, I don't get caught up when people are disappointed in my gift, having a gift. Because people, once you don't give them the gift, get disappointed all the time. And once they get disappointed, this is where the suicide rate comes in. This is where, you have men tripping on, man, I did that right. I'm doing this. I'm studying. I'm doing that. I'm working out. I'm doing this and I'm doing that, because what you're hooked on is your gift and you giving your gift and people liking your gift. But when people don't like your gift, what do? When I know that I am a gift, it brings value to me and I get people to like me. You like who I am and not what I have. And when you like me for who I am and not what I have, I don't trip when you're disappointed. You can be disappointed because I already know that I'm a gift. In other words, I bring value wherever I go. And when I bring value wherever I go, I don't need to hold my head down and say, oh man, they didn't like it because I didn't do it like that. You've been running your own thing for 10 years or more, 10 plus years, but you had to find your niche, separate it from everybody else. You may not be doing it like the dude down the street, but you're doing your thing and you've been successful in your own right. Watch this. Not only do you have a gift, you are a gift, which is why you can talk to that young man and he hears you with clarity because you are a gift. When you ain't trying to force your way into the lane, it's going to come naturally. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? And so that's the thing. I think when a man gets up, he has to understand who he is.
Absolutely.
And once he understands who he is, he can carry on another day. I don't get disappointed and say, they didn't like my gift and I can't go on another day. I can't. You know what I'm saying? Because my gift ain't for everybody.
No.
And when I understand that my gift ain't for everybody, this is a select few, I'm good with it. At the end of the day, Louis Vuitton, Gucci, none of these people advertise because it ain't for everybody.
Yeah.
It ain't for everybody. And I tell people all the time, luxury don't go on sale. So anytime you talking about you got a bag for 60% off, you lying. You got something fake.
Right.
You got something from China. You got something off the black market.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Which, watch this, don't carry the same value as the real thing. It may look like the real thing. It may feel like the real thing. But over time, the real thing is going to hold its value through the years to come. And so when you are a gift, you're going to hold your value no matter what comes your way.
Oh, man, I feel anointed right now. Listen.
So question, though, what happens when the vision and all those things get blurry and you go through the hard time?
I got you on that one.
I was going to say, when you still know who you are,
I got you.
it don't
on
matter
that
how
one.
blurry the vision gets. You got to understand the vision is for an appointed time. So when it gets blurry, you're going to go through rough times, which is the blurry times. But when you know that at the end of the day, if you keep walking this walk, knowing that you got a call, you have purpose, you're going to come to where the vision comes to pass. If you can stay. Absolutely, as a man.
Listen.
Absolutely.
Let me add on to what you just said, because you just hit on some of the struggles I had. I put up a post for my 10-year anniversary on my business last year, and I talked about what you said, like when you want to quit. I'm like, it ain't been a month or a week that went by that I didn't want to quit. 2021, I wanted to sell the shop and just move away. I'm like, I've been doing this my whole adult life. 17 years old, I've been in the barbershop. Since 26, I've been owning businesses. And hasn't been a month that I was just like, I'm tired of this shit. Like, for real. And like you said, with the gift, at one point, I didn't like just being known as a barber. I thought my title had to be different. Like, I need to do this or do that. I'm just like, I don't want to just be a barber. I don't want to just cut hair. It wasn't until recent time, when I say recent time, like maybe like 3 or 4 years, when I started embracing like, yo, I I don't care what I do in life. I'm a barber first. I can be flying a commercial airlines plane, and I'm like, they be like, "Oh, you a pilot?" And I'm like, "No. This is what I do on the side.
Right.
I'm a barber.
Yeah.
Like I cut hair.
Yeah.
Right.
Like I talk to people. I manage emotions, type of thing. And I know that was my gift. I used to always be like, yo, I think the universe that I'm blessed like this type of thing. I'm like, I'm thankful because I can do what I do for a living, and I don't have when I started off, I'm like, I don't have to worry about certain things. Like I know how I'm gonna eat in life. I'm gonna eat with my hands. I put up posts like this, say, man, I eat with my hands. And I'm just like, it's nothing that I ever achieved in life that I ain't do with my hands with a pair of clippers. But at the same time, I took for granted my title. And I put a post up last year, and it was just like, I'm not just a barber. I'm a counselor. I'm a therapist. I'm a father.
Yes.
I'm a mentor.
Yes.
I'm a lawyer. Like I was just
Yep.
like going through everything that I serve for people. Like
Yes.
I'm a community servant. I'm a servant of the community, and that feels real good to me. Somebody else they made like I wanna make $1 million a day. I'm like, yeah, that's cool. But I like serving the community.
Right.
You feel me? I like shedding light to something that people I love when young kids come in there and they be boys. It don't matter what they look like. They can be little white kids, Spanish kids, Asian kids, because we get everything where I'm located. And I say something and they be like, for real? Like they light up. And I'm just like, I just made an impact.
Yeah.
I just lit up that kid life. Because I said something that his parents may have never said or they were scared to say.
Yeah. Yeah.
Gave him some encouragement.
The other thing too, though, is when you found your purpose, you found your niche. Now you starting to understand that even though you are the gift, you know it ain't just for you.
Yeah.
It's for other people.
I want to give I just told Beethoven last night, I was just like, I'm at that point now where I feel like I need to give the game to everybody.
Yeah, right.
People been telling me for years, you need to write a book. You need to come out. I give you a quick little story. I was walking to my building the day where I stayed. I was coming back home from lunch, and the car was coming up. He stopped, and I seen his hand just go like that. And I walked by, and he pulled up and slowed down. He said, Unc, I wasn't going to hit you, man. We need you. We need you out
That
here.
meant everything. That meant
And like
everything.
he know, like he see how I come and go. He come to the shop. At times he be like, "Oh, we need you." I don't know his name.
Wow.
I don't think he know my name.
Impact.
We been neighbors for probably like at least 4 years. And he be lit up. He be like, "Unc, we need you, Unc." He like, "I wasn't gonna hit you. We need you."
Yeah.
And I'm like, that shit just made my day.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's
It's the
awesome.
little things, right?
But just going back on what B said, are we allowed to cry?
Yeah.
When we get into those points. And I think that's one of the number one things that kills us as men is that we get to a point where we cannot feel down enough or in a hole, because we've all been in a hole before. And I can tell you personally, in this thing, I've been in a hole before. And the only person that quote unquote knew was my wife and God, right? But you put on this face that everything's all right. We gonna just push through it. But then you need moments where you just need to sit down and be like, man, this is way too much for me. And I thank God for the wife I do have, because she was like, she saw it. She's like, you can't handle this. You need to get this over to God or go talk to another brother that can help you through this process. You know what I'm saying? And I think that's the biggest thing, that we have to be vulnerable enough. But I think just where we are oftentimes in society says, no, you got to take it. You got to take it. You the man. You got to carry this burden. And a lot of us are carrying burdens that we don't need to carry by ourselves.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And especially when you're talking about that, man, there's many times I thought about, man, I'm just going to go back to work or do something else and get out of here. But how many people would we have been robbing of the impact we'd be able to make if we did quit? How many less of an impact would we have had on a community if we said, man, I'm done with this?
I never thought about that, bro.
Is it okay to choose yourself?
It is.
It is.
It is
but
okay.
When you call, you call. Like I ain't a very religious person, but I hear religious people always talk about when they get they calling. You feel me? And it's just like you just said. I couldn't imagine. Say I just put the clippers down, Mike. I was cutting your hair when you was a young man. I was cutting your brother hair, your cousin hair. Like I was cutting your brother hair when he was in high school. Your cousins when they was teenagers. I'm getting them prepared for college and life after they graduate. I'm telling them stuff that your parents wasn't telling them. So I've been doing this for a long time, and I can only imagine if somebody said, neither one of y'all got a haircut from me for years. Beethoven, you used to be my connection for my son with VPK back in the day. That's how far we go back.
Yeah.
Could you imagine if somebody would have been like, bro, Kurt don't cut no more? You would have been like, huh?
Right.
What he doing?
Right.
Be like, oh yeah, he the manager at Home Depot. I'm still probably getting a check and it's commendable. He like, you would probably reach out to me like, bro, what's up? Like when you got that calling, it's just like I never thought about that. Like you said, how many people would that shit that like gave me chills when you said that. How many people would I really be robbing if I just stopped?
Yeah.
I tell my people right now I'm taking 30 days off. They're gonna be like, what
we gonna do?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Who I'm gonna talk
my
to?
kid,
My counselor's not here.
Like, yeah.
My educator's not here. Not just my barber.
I just told somebody before I came here, I'm like, yo, I ain't working all day on Friday. He was like, bro, well, then I gotta go to somebody else. Bro, I'm like, that's cool. You can go to bro in the shop.
Right.
He there for you. But it's like, I'm still getting damn, bro, like those texts. And now I'm feeling bad, like, shit, I'm gonna have to go up there and take care of my bro. Like,
I love it, brothers. I do. But man, I guess just from an opposite perspective, first of all, I want to shout out to everybody who do go to work and is in a corporate job or whatever it is, because y'all,
I commend that.
Yeah,
I couldn't do it. I don't know where I'd be if I had to.
Yeah, people are needed there though. I mean, I used to work with the city of West Palm, so working with those kids down there, and they need those people, those mentors and people in their life. So I want to shout out. It's not about that, because some people look at this and like, oh, it's all about no. This is not for everybody.
Nope.
I was raised by a man that clock in every day.
For sure.
I'm a huge proponent in my business of processes. Like I don't want to do nothing. I'm gonna be honest with you.
That's all right.
I spend the time up front to put the processes in order so that I can have somebody in, I could train them, I could put them in a position to where I don't have to necessarily do that. So I can go on vacation. Shouts out to you. I would have been out, Beethoven. I would have been out 8 days vacation. I need one right now. I would have
been working more on vacation than I would have been here. I can relax here. Yeah. When I was gonna go, I would have been ripping and running in a whole nother state.
I think we got to watch that.
Yeah,
you understand? Because this is my mom. God bless her heart. You understand what I mean? Like that was her. It was work. She felt guilty going on vacation. You know what I mean? It went until the end of her life is when she went and she took that vacation.
I ain't gonna work this week. I ain't going to work. If I was out of town, I would have been driving around. Like I would have been in a whole nother state, driving 3 hours this way,
doing your vacation thing. But I'm just saying, for us, sometimes we got to know when and how to plug out. Jesus went up and plugged out. You know what I mean? Like, so sometimes I feel like we just need to get away and not necessarily feel guilty for doing it. And I'm putting process in order that way I don't feel guilty. It's tough though, because up until, like I said, I'm working on self-compassion this year. So prior to that, anywhere I went, it had to be about business. We going here? Okay, cool. What can I, how can I figure out how I'm gonna make money over here?
Right.
Who do I know over here? Who can I connect with? How can the only reason why I'm going to Vegas to the magic show is because it's the magic show and this is going on, and I see what kind of connection but there's times when we just need to kind of plug out. And as an entrepreneur and business people, those who are listening to the show, please put them processes in order. Put processes in order, because if something happens to you, and something's going to happen to us eventually, right? You want to make sure that things are in order so it kind of runs, it'll still run. Because if you take sick, quote unquote, that's what the old people say, you take sick. If you take sick, you still want your business you wanted to be able to take the time for you to get right. And you still want your business to flourish. A lot of us, and I did it, I know I did it when I first jumped out, was like, I created this job for myself, and I'm the worst boss. I'm the worst boss. I'm hard on myself when I don't need to be hard on myself, and I'm probably soft on myself when I need to be hard on myself, because that's just how the ego plays. So, but other than that, I mean, everybody, I think the heart is in the right place. We just have to kind of, because I think business and the way that we run business is newer for us, like, you know, in the community, so to speak.
I was about to say,
For
very
sure.
Yeah.
It's
It's
I
like,
always tell people to give black business a break.
Right.
We just start doing this.
yeah,
You know,
the right way.
Yeah. And most of us still don't know how to do that.
Yeah.
I tell
We're learning
people all
on the
time,
fly.
Yeah.
I've been in business all these years, and I'm like, it's a person that can walk through my door and show me 20 things how to increase my profit and my increase my profit 30% within 20 minutes. And I'm like, I'm still at the point where I understand it and I'll listen.
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, and they can be 10 years younger than me. I still won't like turn my nose up like, yo, what you know? You a young fella. Like, nah, I'm like, give me the game.
Yeah.
this
Oh
up.
yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Well, we all got to stay teachable though, no
Yeah.
matter where we at.
Nah, for sure. And I think even just what Beethoven mentioned, when do we shut off? You know, and I think Mike mentioned that too. He says you got to create some ways so that we can shut off. You know, take that time for ourselves.
You need a woman to tell you that.
How do you
Beethoven.
define? Emotional intelligence.
A good woman is such can be such an important piece to you. A woman who's, you know, a good woman. I ain't talking. She don't got to be great. She has to be a good woman. Can make a huge difference, and just the vice versa.
A good woman, and what attributes should she have?
That varies
You know,
depending on the man too.
That's you know, I think when we speak on that point, and
That varies depending on
it
the
might
man.
go real low. It might go low vibrational real quick. No, but when you speak on that, and just to be empathetic to a woman's plight, is that I always say for a man, it's kind of cut and dry. It's like protect, provide, lead. Now you got to heal and have patience. You got to have them things. But it's like, it's really cut. Like, I can just name it. What do you do? Well, what do you do as a man? I protect, I provide, I lead. I'm patient, and I need to heal, because we got
write that down.
we got a
I
lot of,
gotta heal.
but we got a lot of healing to do within
Yes, we do.
just period, and in our culture. So those are the 5 things. And so that's tough when you ask a woman, like, so what do you bring to the table? Because now she, you know, it's for so long, it's been this way. We know what to say. This all I got to do. Somebody jump out, I got to jump out. You know what I mean? Somebody kick in the door, I got to kick in the door. I can't slide underneath the bed. You ain't gonna respect me as a man. You know what I mean? That kind of thing. I can't run and tell the neighbor and say, hey, I had to go get protection. You know, I know what I need to do. But for a woman, just like exactly what Kurt said, she has to be able to look at that person, that man, and as a man, we need to effectively be able to communicate to her, like, these are what our needs. That's an issue.
That's another
we
thing.
had an issue with communication.
Yes, we do.
We just think it needs to be done. When you look at the generations and the generations come before us, these young ladies don't even have a chance.
Right.
And I'm not being disrespectful. All due respect to y'all.
Right.
Your mama didn't know, and your grandma didn't know. I'm telling you, because they was out there. I seen them. We was out there. So nobody taught them. So now it's like we have to go back and not teaching from like I'm coming down and speaking through. I'm just saying, like, how can we all come in and collaborate? Because that's essentially, you know, at some point, like, how can we? Because we're better together.
Right.
You know what I mean? So how do we do that? And as men, we have to be more effective with our communication with that, and not, you know, and really stop paying attention to a lot of the craziness, because there's always been craziness.
Right.
We just seem to be tuned into it more.
I think one of the biggest characters that I love just about my wife is that I can be vulnerable with her, and I can trust that with her. I think that's the biggest thing with guys, is when you get a guy that can break down and be vulnerable with you, the trust factor that he's trusting you with that vulnerability, you only get one chance at it.
Oh yeah.
One chance. Most men that I know, and even myself, you only get one shot. And if you don't
mishandle.
If you mishandle that vulnerability, that moment
Right.
that you
You'll
have,
never get it again.
My Lord.
you may get something semblance of it, but it's going to be a lot of holdback.
Yeah.
There's going to be a lot of holdback. So that's one thing that I know, that with my wife, I can trust her with my vulnerableness and my vulnerabilities. I can be open with her about my struggles, about my plights, about my downfalls, and I know that it's not going anywhere. Right? I know that I'm not going to get mistreated, or I know that I'm not going to get hit on over the head. Well, you're a man, you're supposed to handle that. Oh, you supposed to. No. There's a vulnerability that I can trust with her. Okay. But like you said, though, I think the biggest issue that we have is people before us weren't able to effectively communicate how, even on a lady's aspect, on how to receive a vulnerable man, and how to treat with that, and just based on just how things have been done, even in our culture, and it's been passed down.
Especially in the island culture.
Big time.
What happened with that too is like throughout the times, like things have changed and people didn't keep up with the change effectively, like quick enough. It's just like sometimes men our age, and I'm just saying our age, I'm generalizing, like mid-30s to mid-40s. Men our age still tend to think that women are supposed to act and behave how our mothers or grandmothers behaved, and I'm just like, yo, that was out the window in like the late 90s. Like when the music started changing, that's when everybody started. Women start changing. We need to, like, women don't cook 5 days a week no more. If they cook, it's 2 days, and she can be a gourmet chef and still might only cook for you 2 days a week. So it's like we had to upgrade our mentalities and our outlook like really quick, and I think a lot of people like miss that. And far as like what you said, like the vulnerability, that's a real thing that we don't talk about, and it's like I'll tend to cling to somebody who I can be vulnerable with, and like people who have that type of like that mentality of, well, you a man, you need to do this and you need to do that, and yeah, you leave that alone, like you said with the 250 things. It's just
why
like,
you pointing at me?
but listen, because you said you was still on it. Now I remember
that was somebody else.
Listen, 250 thing, like
the
bro
thing
should have.
with-
He could have kept his
250.
He could have kept his 250
It's
and
up
walked.
again.
The only thing,
She would have had to start off from ground zero.
It was her attitude, though.
right? Yeah, that
The
was
way
my
she
thing.
came out-
It's the
the way she
attitude.
came out,
Just
because-
don't-
But
yeah.
that's
At the
how
end of the day-
that's
Right.
how the times
Right.
are now. Women to look at their phone and figure out like my life should be like this, and they'll figure in their mind their life should be like that because I think I look better than her.
I'm
So
gonna
my
take you a
wife
step
should
further,
be
though.
my life should be
my
better
life
than
should
her.
be-
It's more than women. It's the generation today.
Yeah.
Everybody's caught up in this phone and trying to be an influencer or a creator, right? Like I was looking at the TikTok. I don't even know the brother name. But they say he gets $750 for every post. 750,000 for every post now.
Who's that?
I can't think of the brother
He's
name.
selling,
Dark
of
skin.
course.
You know what I'm saying?
No.
No, is it the
Dark skinned brother?
Yeah, the
I
one that
don't know
looks-
his
Country
name.
Wayne.
No,
No.
man, listen.
No, they
that's
say
a whole nother topic.
$750K for
No,
every
the one who
post.
does the hands with the hands out when he sees something obvious.
That cat.
Yeah.
That
He
cat.
putting
Oh,
on.
I don't know what that is.
Yeah,
But
That ain't even no
But-
real
but-
thing, like a set amount like that.
But everybody trying to do that.
Emulate.
Let me not go out in the workforce. Again, we talked about this weeks ago, which is now we got our kids. They don't want to go to be doctors. They don't want to go be lawyers. You know what I'm saying? I don't even know how many people want to barber. How many people want to do, you know what I mean,
Skilled.
personal training,
Yeah, get
skilled
a real
things,
skill.
right? Anything that's gonna require me to use my brain, I don't want to do it
Well, how do
because
we,
this is easier. You know what I'm saying? And so it's not just the women. It's young boys too that
I lit up 2 weeks ago when my son said he was interested in being an electrician. He in college right now.
good
He
for
was
him.
just
So,
like, he
man,
said, I
run
love
with
using my
that.
hand. He said, I can do certain stuff on my own already. I was like,
run with that?
all right, boy, we finna open you a business. What? Like,
To go off of what, because I love what Jamie's saying, right? And I think what Kurt said, it kind of plays into it because we got to remember that, we read some stats last week. But it starts with the man and it ends with the man. When you look at the stats of what's going on in our culture, et cetera, it's like 26% are what is it, unmarried in the U.S. or single parent households, which is beating out every other nation. I think the next highest nation is like 7% or 8%. So we're like almost triple to what they got going on. Yeah. And a lot of that comes with the father being removed from the household as a culture. We faced this in the Black community for such a long time. Now we reached a point where it's starting to get into the other communities. And we like, man, we've been on that. Like we've been seeing this thing happening, and we've essentially learned how to maneuver with it. Now understanding the ramifications that it plays later on down in the life with just, the negative effects and disadvantages that the children have and the household has, and it just continues to ramp up. So I think it's up to us. I know it's going to be up to us as men to have these conversations, which is great. We need to quickly make that adjustment. Like, I think we're the last ones to make the adjustment. You got to think, when I always call my dad, my parents was like, my fathers and uncles were like city boys, they super city boys. Mm-hmm. So you could be a city boy and grandfather be a city boy, and you were going to have these outside kids, et cetera, all these other kids. And the women weren't tripping back then on it. Like, they weren't putting you weren't going to jail for it. Some of them wouldn't even ask you for child support. You just see your child, the woman just held on to it like that. Real fastly and quickly, that changed. Don't put that question up either, please. Real fastly and quickly, that thing changed to where now
the chicks city boys, fuck city girls, they city boys now.
So the standard, so the standard is I say the standard because that sounds bad. It's changed.
The reality.
And so now our kids, like, now you got a son, I got two sons, et cetera. Like, we have to teach them, like, this is how the game is being played. It's not played this way no more. You know what I mean? You got to make the adjustment. You need to validate the things that your significant other has going on. You need to, and honestly, they are working now. Women are working, so you have to give them their just due. You also have to give them that positive reinforcement for the good things it is that they do. You know what I mean? Like, the things that you did, you wouldn't, before women were cooking 5 times a week, and it just was what it was. You walked in the house, they cooked, and your mom cooked. It was just like, what we talk about? Like, me and my mother used to be upset at each other. She's still gonna cook, and you go in there, y'all don't talk about it. She might say a little slick comment every now and then, but it just, things move on. My father and my mother were the same way. They be arguing, and that thing was still done. You know what I mean? It's changed a little bit, and they don't even. I think it's because we possibly didn't give them the, because they should be. You should appreciate the things that they do, and so they haven't seen the appreciation by speaking it to them. You might be showing them, because some of us, our love language is to show. Like, we working for you. We doing. No, sometimes people need to hear it.
Right.
Yeah. You know what I mean? So you need to figure out what it is that moves that person, and then give them that positive reinforcement when they do the positive things. But at the end of the day, it starts with us as men to instill that, especially to the next generation. These young boys is different. They not even taking care of their mother. I'm in real estate, and mothers gotta sell their stuff because I gotta help out my son, this, that, and the third. And them sons is taking advantage of it. They not turning back to help their mother. They not thinking about, I need to do this for mom. They thinking about themselves. It's like, mom in trouble. That's on her. You know what I mean? What can she do for me? So it's like, that mindset, especially in the younger boys, has changed. So we need to have those conversations with men, because that's the backbone of it. This country was built on the backs of men. Like, everything is built on the backs.
The ball really got dropped somewhere with parenting. Like, I remember I tend to tell my mother certain things because she had a child 12 years after me. So when I saw certain things with my younger sister, I used to be like, yo, y'all really dropped the ball on that. Like, how she 25 and don't have no license? I had my license at 16.
Likewise.
But then my mother would say stuff like, she was just like, well, who taught you how to drive? I was like, I kind of was just asking, can I drive, and jumping in people's car. She was like, I thought it was a rite of passage. She said, I thought you was going to do the same thing me and my sister did. We stole your grandma's car when she went to sleep and we rode around the neighborhood. I thought that's what kids supposed to do. Mm-hmm. So I was like, damn, I ain't even think about it like that. Y'all ain't take me out to drive. Mm. So then I said, you taught her about credit and how to use her credit, and all you told me don't co-sign for nobody. You won't be able to get bubble gum on credit. And she was just like,
Wow.
she was like, well, you was a little smarter than your sister, so I thought you was gonna look at how me and your daddy handled, and you was gonna get it how I did. And I was like, I appreciate that. I said, but you had 2 more sisters that was in the house with you and grandma. How did they fare out? She was like, oh damn, I ain't even think about that. So it was just like little stuff. Like my father, he was like the perfect example of how a man should be in the house. Dad ain't say too much. He was just like, if it was over your mama head, that's when I stepped in. It was like most of the time he said, your mama had it under control.
Yeah.
So
Stepfather, right?
yeah, he was like, I ain't bothered with it. Your mama had it under control. When I stepped in, that's when I knew it was over her head.
Yeah.
Type of thing. But it was one of them things where my mother just thought like, oh, you would get it by watching. And it was just like,
Figure it out.
you know, I graduated in the late 90s and it was just like, I saw the transition. Luckily, I saw the change. But one thing they did do, they raised me to be independent and they prepared me for adulthood. That's where we kind of like all dropped the ball. I was adamant with that. Like when my son was a teenager, I started preparing. As soon as he started high school, I'm like, I was getting him ready for like the real world. Wasn't no, oh, I don't want him working. I'm like, hey, bro, you're going to have to learn how to
But
work
that's-
and go to school.
That's to the
at the
point.
same time.
That's to the point. When they read the stats, a father that was involved in their child's life had the
Way
same.
more successful, right?
Yeah, they had the same
My
success.
son came and moved back with me his senior year. I was like,
they
yo,
had
you
the
gotta-
same success
you gotta
as
be
a.
here.
Get it.
They had the same success as a dual parent household. If the father is in control of the situation. However, on the other end,
Yeah.
Well,
I
here's-
see it at the shop. I see it at the shop. I see kids who I've known them since they was 9 years old. Now they're 16. And it's just like, I can look at the pictures that the moms post, you know, I ain't gonna say no names because it's a whole bunch of them. I'm like, you okay that your son's a thug?
Yeah.
Like you
There's a
raising
lot of
him
them out
like,
there like that.
you buying him $1,000 pair of shoes for what? He got a gold grill for what? He a schoolboy. He a mama's boy.
Yeah.
You watch you bring
Ain't
him
gonna-
in
ain't
here
gonna
for
do
years.
nothing. Ain't gonna do nothing.
He's a
out
mama's
there.
boy. You bought him that Cuban link. You bought him them $1,100 shoes. You got him twisting his hair up. Like,
But I'm gonna go back to what you said though. Like you said, somewhere along us finishing school till now, the parenting ball has dropped.
yeah.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying? Like you said, that discipline with telling your boy, yo, you got to get a job. You know what I'm saying? I told my son the same thing. Like, you know, I slacked up with him finishing high school and not making him work. You know, because he was balling and whatever and doing his thing. And I never made him get a job. But once he got to college, because I told him, I said, I don't care if you make it to the league or you don't. I say, my objective is for you to get this paperwork, get out here in this world and be successful, whether it's ball or not. But what you're going to have to do now in this off season, you're going to have to get a job.
Do something.
You're going to have to get a job.
I send my son rent money, like money for his rent, and he still work. I like that he work. I pay his car note, his car insurance, and I pay at least half of his rent every month. But he like to go to work. And like me and my brother was talking, his son a year younger than my son, and he was just like, I'm gonna see if he want him some money. I'm gonna see what he like. See if he like him some money. He was like, at least one thing you know about nephew, he like him some money. He gonna go to work 30, 40. If they call him and he ain't got nothing to do, no class, he like, yeah, boy, I'm going to work.
Yeah.
He'll go to work from 7 in the morning to 2, and then go from 7 to 12 on one job, and then go from 2 to 10 on another job.
Hustler.
I was like, okay, I can't ask for much more right now with a 20-year-old.
That's hustler.
This is a question I want to pose to y'all. I know we're talking about, because the biggest thing is that the important role that we have as fathers is crucial, right? It's almost vital, right? And this is not an ego thing. This is not, we're diminishing women in their role in the home and how they deal with it. No, this is not about that. But what society is done and over time has done, what Amy has done, is turn the construct of the importance of a role of a father, a male figure in the family, upside down. So how do we as men, because we have to understand too that a lot of these homes don't have father figures, right? A lot of these homes don't have dads. Gratefully, you had a stepfather that stepped in the gap and did that, but not many homes have that. How do we change that tide? What are some things? I mean, it's not like, oh, we got to take all this whole thing on our backs to do so, but what are some things that we can do as men to help? You know, I know this helps big time in this communication realm that we are right now, to communicate a lot of these concerns, a lot of these issues that's going on in our community and beyond. But what do we do to help turn that tide, right? Because one rock can't change the course of a river. But if you can take multiple rocks and throw it in that same spot, you may not change the same courses, but you can change the course. It's still going the same way, but you can change the course of that river.
There's two things for that. One, I've never seen a woman go against a real man when the real man stepped down. My mother is the most bossiest, annoying woman I know. She's the most difficult woman I know. But if my dad say so, she shut her fucking mouth. And she'll have a lot to say until he stepped down. He'll ignore her plenty of times. My dad the type of dude, he don't raise his voice, he don't curse, he don't, he'll let her have her way 99% of the time. But when he stepped down, she shut her mouth. And I still to this day haven't seen a woman who wanna go over a real man when he stepped down. Now the problem is too many of our young men are just being raised by that bossy woman by themselves. I can't imagine where I would have been. My stepfather came in my life when I was 8 years old. You see the type of character man he is. He can walk in the barbershop right now and I see him pull up and I'll be like, hey, don't nobody curse. Don't nobody say nothing crazy.
Respect.
Like my dad coming in.
Yeah.
And he's like, oh, and everybody who know my dad, they like, oh, yeah. Start pulling up their pants, tightening their belts.
They know.
And he ain't even going to say nothing to a man. But it's just the respect he garners when he comes around. Like, I don't curse in his house. My mother won't curse in the house. She'll curse on the phone with me. I'll be like, Pops must not beat her, because you know your man will beat you if you curse in his home. And we'll laugh about it. But that's just the respect we have for him. And when it's the women by themselves, it's like I tell people, I'm like, look, I ain't get in trouble in school because I was worried about my mom. I told my ex-wife one time, I said, look, mothers tell their sons everything wrong, not to do. I said, we still don't care. We'll get in trouble, and then y'all be the first phone call we make.
Yeah.
Because we doing something that y'all told us not to do.
Yeah.
I said, it ain't the mothers I said, I didn't get in trouble because I ain't want no smoke with my daddy.
Yeah.
Right.
I said, I ain't want to embarrass my daddy on his job because he was a sheriff officer. I ain't want people to be like, well, what's wrong with Fuse boy? He this type of man, but his boy getting in all this trouble. What he doing in the house?
Yeah.
I didn't want that type of smoke or that type of pressure on me. And when it comes, the first thing that has to happen is it's men like us that has to start like projecting on the youth. And I've been seeing it for years. I was saying 7 years ago I need to start like a youth outreach program, but I was just I got caught up in well, hell, I got a son that's a teenager now. I need to make sure my son's straight first before I make sure somebody else
starts
strong.
strong.
Yeah,
For sure.
but at the same time now it's weighing on me now.
Because
Like,
more and more of these young dudes.
Yeah, it's weighing on me.
That respect factor that you're talking about, though, these young cats don't have that for adulthood.
No, they don't.
So I've never, coming up, like you said, man, if an adult, it doesn't matter if I didn't know the adult or not. We didn't curse in front of the adults. You know what I'm saying? We didn't, just go off the deep end saying whatever, however, because we didn't know that person. When it was an adult in the room, shut your mouth. You talk clean. You know what I mean? When you got back in the street to do your thing with your boys or whatever, you go back to it. But these kids today, they don't see that. They have no respect for adulthood. And maybe, just maybe, that does come from the father figure not being around and not being in the households. And you have a single lady that's trying to do her best, no doubt.
Yeah, absolutely.
No, for sure.
Yeah.
But
sure.
it's something about these young men, and I see it, you know what I mean,
They
across
all
the board.
sassy.
Same thing.
Dude
Well,
just
listen.
did that to me in the shop the other day. I'm like, bro, I'm 40, almost 43 years old. He's 29. Type dude still ain't never paid rent nowhere, don't have any kids, no nothing. He was talking about, I said, hey, young fella, you'll understand perspective when you get older. It started off with a sports argument. I said it's called perspective.
Yeah.
And he just like back and forth with me. I'm like,
Went back down.
bro,
though.
he was like, you don't know what I've been
And
through in
then got
life.
and then got
There you
emotional.
go.
And then got
There it
emotional.
is.
And
I'm
then
like,
it is.
You ain't
I'm
even
like,
start living yet.
I'm
Here's the
looking at
thing.
it like,
Here's the thing, Kurt. You're probably the one rebuttal man who's probably had that conversation like that with him, and he doesn't know how to come about it.
yeah.
Until you had that conversation with him in private, it's a whole different
Yeah,
conversation.
I started to pull him aside when he was leaving. I just said, I was like, all right, bro, I see you next time type of thing. But his barber told me, like, bro, I don't even know why you was wasting your time. He's so dunce and thick-headed. I'm just like, but
See,
he
that's
ain't
the
no
issue.
bad dude. He ain't no, because I see him there all the time, like, but he ain't no bad dude. He
That's the
worked. He
perspective
came
we
there
gotta
with
look
his,
at, though,
he was
right?
on his lunch break.
That's the perspective we got to take.
Yeah.
'Cause
We
I,
got it,
I
we
do
got it.
think that because we've been so turned off by what we weren't used to,
Right.
Yeah.
what we see
Absolutely.
now, we kind of shy away from it
Mm-hmm.
and don't, young dude, come, let me holler at you. real
Let me
quick.
talk to you for a
You know what
second.
I mean?
How
And
old
so-
are you, Jamie?
43.
You older than me. I'm 42. If you step down on me, I shut up. If you call me a jit, I shut up. I don't be sitting there like, oh, nigga, I'm grown. I'm just like, hey, man, a year older than me. This how it go. He was outside.
And that's-
before me.
It's
that was
a
the game,
different
though.
right.
Yeah, that was the game. Yeah.
This is when back in the day people would take you to the side and have conversations
No, for
with
sure.
you.
Yeah.
Right. So that's done. And I actually pinpointed the years after everything after 87. Anything after
Yeah.
87.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
And you might hate me for it. Anything after 87, and if you went to Palm Beach Lakes, I'm just saying.
Yes,
Those- if you had those two,
Late's got him.
if you had those two,
Yes, sir.
if you put them two combinations together,
Yeah.
you dealing with a different animal. And so working with the kids. I worked with them for
Seen
close to 10 years at the Empowerment Center in West Palm. We was down to Pleasant City, and then we was on Greenwood for a little bit. So we had all these kids coming in at risk youth. The brother said he was dunce. I'm not gonna say that these kids is dunce because they're not. These
Very
kids,
intelligent.
these
Probably
very
more
intelligent.
advanced than us.
Right. They're very intelligent. They lack drive. I can see that, but that's just what the culture has. Like I think even you starting to see adults lacking drive. So that there's an issue there. A lot of posturing going on. We got to think. I know we think we was the most respectful, but I can speak for myself. You know, middle school and high school. I'm not saying I was off of the you know the range. It still has some type of respect. It was more respect than they have now. But it was certain times that Mike could have shut up. You know what I mean? Like I could have backed down. So that's what's happening. We have to have empathy for them. It's just like we were talking a second ago about the women. Like they don't know. They was raised by someone who didn't know, who was raised by somebody that didn't know, who got caught up in these different systems, et cetera, these different things, just the way the culture is. And so now this is what we have. So it's almost like, okay, we do have to have about face, but we have to do it with empathy because they will crash out.
Mm-hmm.
They are on the internet talking about how they're gonna crash out and then do it and telling you about when they did it so that they can get likes for it. I guess I don't know, but that's the thought process it is that they have.
Right.
So it's like we have to sit. We really got to take a step back, and we at some point in time, I'm hoping that as a culture we take a step back and look at it and say, okay, so how do we fix this? Getting back to the question in regards to what do we do? Like what we tell it, like. We need to explain to these young dudes. Like I think at a time it was okay. I saw a question today about getting married at a young age, getting married at 20, whatever. And that was what other cultures do. And I think that's fine if you have the support behind it. But if you don't have any support behind it, we need to start telling the dudes like, listen, don't have no kids. It's a whole different ball game.
Right.
You need to be 35, 40 because you need to figure it. You need to get this thing out. When we was younger, like my first child was at 28. And when I look back at it, man, I was too young. 28, 29, dealing with what was going on in the culture. Like I was too young.
Right.
You know what I mean? And so it's like these kids that you having these children at 19, 20, 21, 20, 23 because NBA Youngboy got 10 kids or this person got 5
his
kids.
bank account ain't
Right.
like yours.
It's not like ours, but he shouldn't even have those
He
kids.
shouldn't have
Right.
them,
I don't
right.
care what his bank account look like.
Yeah.
But it's like we need to take a step back and regroup and say, okay, cool. we need to tell these kids like this is what's going on, because even when we were kids, like child support still wasn't what it was, what it is now. And two of the top things that take wealth out of the community is definitely going to be the family court system. You getting involved in the family court with divorce, you're getting involved with child support, etc., and the prison system, the prison, the school to prison pipeline. So that's where all our wealth is going. That's why in the community we're only worth $5,500 on average, right? So we need to sit down and tell these kids, hey, Rabbit, hey, don't have no kids. I don't know how many times you got to tell them, like, don't have no kids. Don't have no kids. How can we have this conversation? Don't have no kids. Don't have no kids. You got plenty of time. You 30, 35. There was a time when the narrative, I don't know if y'all remember, if you made it to 25, like black, there was a whole narrative about if you made it to 25, like you was lucky. Wow. You know what I mean? Right. And that thing gets imprinted into a generation. I think a lot of these kids have that where it's like, I'm seeing all these people fall or in the, it might not even be in their real life. Sometimes it just be like they saw the kid get killed in LA or something. Right. But in their mind, they're part of that. So it's like you need to tell them, like, you got your whole life ahead of you. So it's starting to make them think about the longevity, because if you don't have any support, you don't have the people to support you, even whether you're getting married or whether you're having kids, you in trouble. And not just on your side, you might have it all together, but that young lady might not have it all together. She got all these things that are experiences that she's having with what she's seeing and what you're supposed to do. Oh, he in his son's life. I don't care if he's in his son's life because my homegirl get child support, so I should be getting child support too. But this man is at the house every day. I
seen a video, bro, the other day on Instagram where a teacher asked like a 13-year-old girl, it was a student. You saw it?
What was it?
When she said the girl said she wanted to have 2 kids, but she wasn't interested in being married. Yeah. And the teacher said, why not? She said, because if I'm married, I wouldn't be able to get child support from him. Wow. She don't even understand. If you're married, he's in the home and he's making your life easier. Hopefully, if he's he's man enough to marry you, father 2 kids with you, he's in that home, most likely making your life easier. And she like, oh no, I ain't interested. She want 2 different dudes. 2 kids from 2 different dudes, so she can get 2 different child support.
We have to be able to
don't
change.
do nothing.
That's
crazy.
Do something to change the narrative. It's crazy out there.
So it's almost like it's not even just the young men we need to focus on. It's like we need to focus on the young women too, because I see it all the time in the shop. I hate it. I see the city girls / hot girls / we at ya girls like bringing in these boys, and then it's just like I'm like. My mother ain't but 16 years older than me. My mother and my biological father, they was 16, 17 when I was born. My mother 16 years older than me, never carried like a little girl. Like, I couldn't even fathom that. I joked with my mom when I was in my 30s. I was like, ooh, girl, you nasty. You in your 40s with a kid in his 30s. Like, we'll laugh about that, but she ain't have her next kid till she 12 years later, and she had been married for 2 years. And I just never seen her carry a certain type of way. And I see these girls, they could be 23 years older than their kid. I'm like, I'm 22 years older than my son. And it's just like, he'll have to tone me down. He'll be like, hey man, don't be all on social media with your shirt off. I don't need my homegirls talking about, oh, Zay, that's your daddy, like all of that. So I'll be like, yeah, man, it's coming. Just block me, bro. Like, just messing with them. But the women, I see how they still handle with their boys, and I'm just like, I see when the boys get to that age when they recognize how men perceive their mom. Now mom got to sit in the car. I done seen 12-year-olds snap.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Like outside the shop, like cursing, like ready to kill a grown man because of how he perceived his mother and said it out loud, not knowing that was her son. So you see when the boys have that detachment, but the mothers seem like they still don't get it. I'm like, hey man, your 14-year-old know you a hot girl. Yeah. He's not proud of that. That's why he's saying, Mom, sit your ass in the car.
Yeah. Yeah.
Don't come in the shop.
I got 2 daughters. I got a son and 2 daughters. And my daughter, just started really, she turned 19 this month. Mm-hmm. And got interested in the dude. And I was like, yo, let me meet him.
Got to
vet him.
Yeah, you know what I'm saying? Let me meet him. Before he take you anywhere, let me meet him. Because I was that dude. Mm-hmm. You understand what I'm saying? I was 18, I was 19, and I know what I wanted, and it wasn't just because you was just pretty. Mm-hmm. And I think that, we talking about the girls, we have to stop being so naive about what we like when we were their age and overlooking that thing as if they ain't interested in the same stuff.
Exactly.
They got hormones just like we do. So I was like, yo, let me meet dude. You know what I mean? Like, I don't want him to take you nowhere until I meet him. And I know my daughter's like, oh, they tell mom all the time, I don't want daddy to do it, you know, because I'm gonna check him. You know what I mean? I'm gonna check him.
No, for sure.
Yo, what's up? What you want with my daughter? You know what I mean? Like, what you want?
Let's be real.
I want you to level with me. You know what I'm saying? And you an athlete too? And you go to school somewhere else? Oh, okay, homie, let me let you know. Don't have a girl down there in Dade County, you know what I mean, and my daughter up here. You know what I'm saying? If you don't want my daughter, go do you down there. I said, because I was that dude. And I said, if you hurt her, you know what I'm saying, it's going to affect me. And my thing is, when we don't have these conversations with these young cats, girls or boys, you know what I'm saying, and let them know the reality of the thing, like, yo, I've been there. You know what I'm saying? I felt how you felt. I can level with what you talking about. You ain't that much different when we talk about the biology part of us. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. And so trying to figure that out, and I think that as black men, we got to be saying something that's very similar. We have to learn how to band together. Right. You know what I'm saying? And once the children start seeing the unity, because there's a lot of disharmony. It's a lot of disunity.
Absolutely, 100%.
And I think once the children start seeing the unity amongst us, we probably can make a much greater impact to your question.
Absolutely.
For sure.
And the reason that we're not is because
our community is non-existent.
It's separated.
I don't think I ever met a father until my first wife. That was crazy. So you talking about maybe like 26.
Man, hey,
wow.
I tried my wife, Dad, at 19. I've been with my wife for 20 years, 23 years. And I remember before I met him, I called late night, midnight on the phone. She probably gonna hear this and trip out. And he was like, you know what time it is? And so you talking about the disrespect. I said, nah, what time is it?
Yeah. You know what? I'm lying. I met my son's mother. My son's mother, I met her dad, but he didn't even talk to me. Like, he didn't pull me to the side, have a conversation with me. He didn't start talking to me until after my son was born. He was just kind of like, look at me and go on about his business. But, you know, after like my son was born and he started talking and opening, he had man a few words, but just a solid dude. Like I used to make threats to her when we were going through, and I'm like, the only person who ain't gonna get it is your daddy, because he a good nigga. Like, he ain't got but you, your mama, everybody else got to get it. Like,
the structure is important.
It's truly important.
The vetting of the boyfriend, the vetting of the girlfriend.
Yes.
Both ways.
The vetting of the boyfriends, the vetting of the girlfriends, and you know, it's not a woman's role to do it. You know what I mean? Yeah. Like, it's not a woman's role to do it. And that's interesting. You had that same situation with the father-in-law.
I got another one
because
the girls.
You know, I don't think I think one might have attempted to check me when I was coming up, but I deserved it too, because I was all, you know, I felt like I was lifting weights and everything, like, you know, that kind of deal. But the situation is that you need that strong man, whether it's the father, someone need to come and have those conversations.
For sure.
And sometimes I look at some of these young ladies I was dealing with, I was like, well, like, your dad ain't gonna have a conversation with me. Like, he's not gonna say that when he see me. He's not gonna say anything to me. Like, it's not, you know,
probably not there.
The first girl my son like took out when I bought him a car when he was 18. Her dad was a classmate of mine, right? And when my son told me, I'm like, oh man, I know him. I'm like, you would pick the only dude who I seen curl 225. Like, I'm like, he couldn't push it off his chest, but he'll put it on the bar. And I'm like, man, I seen this man curling 205, bro. Like, I said, that's who you want to, that's you show? Like I know him. Like, I done seen him take down the tree, right? But he was straight up. I liked the fact that she had a father. He was like, hey, Kurt, he was like, your boy cool. He said, it's the first person I'm letting my baby ride with besides me. Yeah. So we need to be on the same page. So, you know,
there you go.
With time. And I appreciated and I respected that. Like, we exchanged numbers and stuff like that. And to this day, they went their separate ways. But my son, when he come to town, he still go to them people's house. He still deal with their other kids. Like, they still cool. And I remember he was dealing with a chick one time, going back to vetting the women too. he was like, oh yeah, I just came from hollering at some chick at some, and I was like, wait a minute, she do what? She do hair. I'm like, that's a grown ass woman. How old is she? He was like, she like 23. He was like 19. I said, you ain't ready for that.
Yeah.
He was like, what? I said, so he laughed thinking I'm just trying to in the shop. A few weeks later, he was like, yeah, Dad, you was right. Boy, ain't ready for that. He was just like, she got a whole another dude she messed with. I was like, yeah, that's usually how that go. He was like, but when I told her, yeah, like, I don't do that. I don't mess with it. My dad told me to stay clear of chicks who got dudes. She was like, oh, what, you can't fight or something? I said, yeah, it ain't no fight no more nowadays. I'm just like,
unfortunately.
I said, yeah, I'm glad you know, but I've always taught him how to handle himself in those type of situations with different type of women. There's certain stuff like, yeah, you just don't do. You don't do married women. You don't do women who got a boyfriend.
Principles.
You don't do the, yeah. I taught him that just is laws to this game.
You know what else you just
yourself
mentioned that I think is dope and kind of alluded to what Jamie said. Jamie said was a father who has character like that carries weight.
It does.
Yeah.
For that conversation that you could have with the classmate and you could be on the same page and have those morals and it carries weight. Last name, and it used to be that way all the time.
Right.
Oh, that's such and such son.
Right.
Or that's what's the name people. You know what I mean? Like it was set and you treated people accordingly.
For sure.
Oh, wait a minute. That's Jamian's daughter?
Mm-hmm.
Oh,
she
she
come
Don't
do
she
that
that's
around with that girl. Like, oh, her daddy.
Yeah.
But when the man got
he deal with God. So you won't mess with that.
Yeah.
when the man got taken out of the household, that don't carry it like that no more. Nobody. Oh, that's your mom. Oh, that's your mama.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So it's like it's so important for you to have that type of character, that type of foundation, and know that you come from that, and people respect that. You want to be respected. You want your name, your kid's name, your name to go before you. So when your kids come in the door, oh, I know that guy.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that opens up doors on all aspects of it. I'm talking about jobs. I'm talking about that reputation, getting into different schools, etc. Oh, you know such and such.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, that kind of tells you what it is, and that comes, it comes from a man being around because it's normally the man's name which what get carries through.
Yeah.
So
That's the fear fact.
Yeah.
That's where the fear and the protection come from. I ain't never heard nobody say, oh, that's so-and-so like a woman's name.
Yeah.
It's just like my son say, man, don't nobody know me through my mom. Everybody know me through you, Dad. I be in Walmart. They be like, oh, boy, you Kurt's son. He say, man, I done got pulled aside so many times. Dude just be like, hey, man, your dad this, your dad that. Like, I've been with him a few times when that's happened. Like, dudes who, like I said, used to sit in my chair when I was in my 20s. They was like, hey, man, your dad, this his character, his how he handle the same way. And so he take heed to that. Like, he like hang on everything I say. And I just be like, he be like always telling me like he thankful for the type of dad he have. And I'm right back at him like, yo, you make my job easy as a parent. I be telling him all the time, I be like, bro, you make me look good.
Yeah, that's what's up.
Cause you ain't a certain type of way. I'm just doing how I was brung up to be. This is the stuff that my mother and my father gave to me. So I'm giving it to you. I'm just a little hipper than them. That's it.
Right.
That's what our kids need too, though. Those words of affirmation, man. They need to hear it from home.
For sure.
And not from the streets or people like that. They need to hear it from us.
For sure.
And we can affirm our kids, man. They ain't looking for the validation anywhere else.
No, so I want to add to this. It's kind of similar to what the question is. So I know for me, last year is when I started really trying to understand what emotional intelligence is.
Yeah.
And how that plays a part in a man's life and how that affects everything else around him. If you guys could speak on what emotional intelligence is for you and how important is it for your everyday life? Like, how does that work?
I shoot. I mean, it's simple. Emotional intelligence is being able to communicate your feelings accurately and effectively. And it's important in everyday relationships because even if your partner, your spouse, your homeboy, your homegirl, if you can't really be real about how you feel, again, communication, like you said, the communication factor is a big factor in most relationships. And because most of us don't know how to communicate, we have falling outs, we have breakups, we have mess ups, we have friendships that dissolve because we never came to the conclusion of saying, look, bro, I really felt like this because you said this, and this, or I didn't like how I confided in you, that vulnerability, and then somebody else knew about my business. If I can't effectively communicate how I feel to somebody, it's going to be bad. You know what I mean? And when I say bad, I'm talking about we don't have genuine relationships if I can't accurately communicate how I feel.
Right.
That's emotional intelligence to me.
Right.
Absolutely.
Emotional intelligence keep us out of prison.
I was gonna say
Emotional intelligence is the thing that make us think 5 steps after the initial thing. I've had arguments with people, with women in my past, and it's like a woman to go from 0 to 100, be ready to go off the deep end, and I'm just like, you're not even thinking how bad something could be from the stuff you're talking about doing. I'm like, I heard the dude, the late great Kevin Samuels say one time. He said, men always understand it's a low level chance for violence, so we conduct ourselves a certain type of way, and that emotional intelligence. I always used to tell my son and his older brother, like when they was in high school, I'd be like, use your head first, son, and I let them talk, about situations that happen in school. And I remember his brother telling me, Kurt, I almost got in a fight today. I'm like, well, what happened? And he'll tell me, and I was like, that's one. He was like, what? I said, that was the first time you could have walked off. Go ahead, finish. And he'll start talking. I said, that's 2. And when I say that's 2, he was like, all right, I got it, Kurt. I got it. You right. And he'll just dap me up, give me a hug, and he'll be like, you right. I got it. Yeah, I got it now. And I'm just like, we talked about this on another show when I was saying about defusing bombs, even when they start driving. And I'm like, look, this is how you deal with law enforcement. And I'm like, you can't just have game for them little girls you talk to. You got to have them for cops, for everybody. Like, you have to have game in life. Know how to defuse a bomb. First time my son got pulled, he was with a little chick in the car, and they was riding, and he was like, Dad, he said, he hit me up. He was like, I just want to let you know I just got my first ticket. But he was like, the cop was looking for action. He said, I ain't give him none. Yeah. I said, what he said? He was telling me I said, oh yeah, he was looking for action. He said, I ain't give him none. He said he was looking for it. He was like, do you know how fast you were going? Do you know how? He was like, no, sir, I didn't. I was just, talking to my lady friend, and we was just cruising along. I'm not, familiar with this area, and, and I was like, good job.
Yeah.
Good job.
That's taught. That's taught though.
Yeah.
That come from good parenting.
That's taught.
That's game you done gave him.
Yeah.
And those principles that you laid out. And again, he was that kid that took it and applied it.
He has great emotional intelligence. Sometimes it scares me because I'm just like, is he just being so strong for so many things? Because I mean, like, he has certain issues when it comes to him and his mother. And it's just like, I call him sometimes I just be like, you straight, you talk to your mom, or, he'll give me one thing, but I got a friend who he'll talk to a little bit more about it or whatever, because she a female. So he confide in her about certain things. And, I'll tell him, I'm like, hey man, you want to go to therapy? You want to holler at my therapist? Because I keep me a therapist on deck. I'm going to talk to him at least once, twice a month.
Right.
I'm like, you can go to my therapist. I done brung him with me before. And he like, yo, Dad, I like that. Can I go? I'm like, whoa, you can't go every week. This my time. I don't want you to hear all this shit I'm talking about getting off of my chest. But he told somebody a while back, he was just like, oh yeah, my dad, they was like, hey man, you talk like you an old head, like you been around some old heads. He was like, it's my dad. He said, my dad taught me everything I know, but he ain't teach me everything he know.
You'll learn some things on your own.
Yeah, gotta learn.
I told him a long time ago. I said, I'm gonna teach you way more than school ever teach you, and life gonna teach you way more than I can ever teach you.
For sure. The biggest thing I think is already kind of being reiterated, but I think being able to control your emotions is emotional intelligence. Because there's certain instances where, in the past, certainly in our culture, where we've always had to bottle up our emotions, right? In areas of being stopped by a police officer, 50, 60 years ago, we weren't treated in a certain way, and we've always had to keep silent, maybe not say much, or, and it's all been bottled up. So now that we have these things where this pressure cooker's been cooked up so much, right? They explode. Even when we deal with each other, right? We don't even know how to talk to each other and effectively communicate how we're feeling without getting into fisticuffs. I call it fisticuffs. I just went, Caucasian. But without even but now it's a whole other level, right? We hear stories about the young kid in Alabama. You know what I mean? Where who knows what went on, but now life is lost because y'all couldn't control y'all emotions.
Yeah.
So being able to effectively communicate and be able to control, not bottle our emotions, but being effectively able to communicate and control our emotions, like you said, and having people in our corner to talk to. There's a great story with your son. He's coming to you telling, hey, and then you stop and say, hey, there's where you messed up, number one. And it's being able to step back out of the purview of what's going on in this circle of this heightened emotion, being able to take a couple steps back to look at the purview of everything that may happen because of one decision you may make.
Yeah.
And it's hard to do, but it's almost a practice exercise that you have to do.
Yo, I got a quick one that I found out in the shop just like last week. A dude was saying how when he got locked up, before he was just like an old head. Stepped to him when he was locked up. He was just like, how many minutes? He was like, what you mean, how many minutes? He was like, what you in here for? Let me see your paperwork. So he showed him this paperwork. He was in there for, I think he said armed robbery or whatever. And I think he saw this somewhere. It was on another podcast or show. And the dude was like, he said, you in here for armed robbery? He said, so 5 minutes. He said, 5 minutes got you 10 years. Dude said, he said, 1 minute got me life.
Wow.
He was like, I decided in a matter of a minute to take somebody else's life in anger.
Wow.
And they got me life. And I hear stuff like that or see stuff like that on social media, and I always regurgitate it to my son. I'll send him the video, I'll call him, and I'll tell him the story real quick. And it's like I constantly make it a habit of training his mentality about certain things. Like I feel so bad for those young men in that situation that happened in Alabama, because those two young men's lives affected, that young woman's life affected, and the two people who was in the car who survived life was forever be affected. And you don't know, depending on their support cast, you don't know how it may take. Right. The young man who didn't die, he may be like, yo, I ain't playing with a motherfucker no more. Like if somebody get wrong, I'm getting on them off top, so they don't even have a chance. Right. Or he might just be like, you got that, I'm backing down.
Right.
Same with the woman. You can either create a monster, or you can create a sane, like how we saying, I got emotional intelligence. I don't want any problems no more.
Right.
So it's a coin toss.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I mean, you all pretty much said it. I think environment plays a huge part. We was taught, or we were molded. We saw this. Like we're just modeling the behavior. I used to have a joke that said, when you're in West Palm, you drive with your face all scrunched up from 54th Street to 2nd Street. Then by the time you hit Banyan, you got a smile on your face and you on City Place. You know what I mean? And
Palm Beach.
No, it 1,000%, right? And so now, in the neighborhood I am and the corridor that I am, these aren't the issues, man.
Right.
Like it's so low vibration when you look at it. Like now when things happen, I got my wallet. I was missing my wallet the other day, and I was like, people still steal wallets. You know what I mean? Like it just because I'm not even in that realm anymore. Right. But getting to the question, it was emotional intelligence. Everything that you all said, and the ability to read the room or read the person.
Right.
Because I think that's something that if you were born before 87, you had these people around you that was constantly in your ear talking to you about these things, like it was your uncle, it was your cousin, it was your homeboy from around the corner, it was this. So even now, I'm having this thing where you just constantly just looking, you just reading the room, like what's really going on?
Right.
Oh, I don't know what's on this man's mind.
Right.
Like I don't know what this guy going. I woke up to a traumatic message from somebody. I'm not gonna say any names. With this guy, they chased him out of the party. He pulled out a gun. He shot everybody in the door. He pulled out the gun and he shot everybody. I mean, and when I'm telling you he shot everybody, he shot the dad who ran up on him first, backed up, shot the dad. The daughter went to go look at the dad. He walked over to the daughter, dome shot at the daughter.
No.
Walked down the street. There was somebody in the corner, shot the dude on the corner. Walked around the van to somebody who was hiding behind the van and shot the person behind the van. Jeez. His girl jumped in the car, was like, "Come on, let's go!" Like she was just saying that. Like she didn't even like she knew what time it was with this dude. Like he's a killer, you know. So but it was just like the most like, why you chase? That's one. Why you chasing him out the door? He's already leaving. Why y'all running around the corner after this dude? Why did you? You know, it is like 1, 2. So now you got 4 barriers. You got 4 barriers. I mean, he made sure the job was done. You don't know what, and I tell some of these kids when I'm dealing with them, I say, listen,
you don't know what people going
through. A lot of you people are playing gangster.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I was at the center. When I was at the center, I knew because I heard I was having conversations with these kids at 12 and 13 when they would come to me and they had that conversation. They say, matter of fact, I remember a caseworker came in one time and they said, you know, he stayed with his grandma. He don't even know his real mother or his mother and father. They're not in his life. His grandma won't let him in the house after 8 o'clock. So he had to sleep on the back of the porch, and he was getting bit by ants. So because one time he just came in and he had all these ant bites on him. They was like, you ain't in here by 8 o'clock. You're not that. Very quiet kid, very respectful. But he had something going on with him. And I'm looking at all these kids like y'all running around and thinking that it's this rap thing. What them rappers talking about is what this kid really is. And he don't even care about the money. He's coming. He's dressing bum. You know what you would consider bummy. He ain't really care. He don't really care about the styles of being cool. He don't even really care about these girls, to be honest with you, right? Because of the mindset that he has. I said, so you all are playing this part time, and you going home. You got a decent mother who's trying to take care of you, providing as much as she can, you know, or your father, whatever it is. I said, this man is really about it. So you need to pay attention to what's really going on. Yep. And we were I'm sure we was amongst a lot of these people. I'm sure you could tell stories about dudes you knew, like, yeah, dude, we laugh and joke with him, but he's not for play. Yeah, he's not for play.
Man, let's be friends.
So yeah.
So straight?
Right. Hey man, you good?
Yeah.
Hey, don't leave Henry alone.
Yeah, he's not knocking on your door like he's the one. He knock on your door in the middle of nighttime. You be like, yeah, I ain't answering the door for that. What you got going on? Hey man, I'm not. I'm gonna pretend like I'm not there. You know what I mean? That kind of thing. But you had this that was going on. We've lost a lot of that because the instruction and direction has been taken out of the home. You know, you don't have a father like Kurt who's talking to his son and saying, listen, I'm gonna teach you as much as I can, as much as I know that you're open to. Right. And if you come across this situation, then you'll be safe. Right. You don't look at, she was acting all crazy to the cop. Like, why you pulling me over? Right. Don't play with these people. You don't even know what's on his mind.
Right, exactly.
So it's been bred. It's been modeled the emotional intelligence. Like you pop off when this happened, when this is going on, and some of these dudes is baiting you to pop off because they looking for an issue. Mm-hmm. So we gotta have that, bring those emotions down. Oh man, gosh darn it. Gunna versus the street.
Definitely trying to.
Why do black men have to be super gangsters and high value businessmen? You got to fly to and you got to skate on ice. Like, why is it that we have to be all of these things in order to be valuable? So, I mean, if you all don't know, Gunna was just released. I think he was released in December. He has a case, a RICO case in Georgia with Young Thug. Mm-hmm. And so, he's out. So now it's the snitch.
He was the one that snitched.
That's what they say. I don't know. I'm not there.
Okay.
Right. Right. No. But I hear it. So we're he's living by this code of the streets. what's interesting to me was what I said is Gunna versus the streets when I was thinking about it was that because he's not obviously he probably wasn't about that life if that's the case. Like he didn't want to do the time. He wasn't a part of that, but he does rap about it. If Gunna commits suicide tomorrow, it's gonna be like, oh, we need to be paying attention to mental health because when he did, no one cares about his mental health. Nobody cares. Like now he's going up against the system. He's an artist. I don't know if you know any artists, like they tend to be very fragile,
sensitive.
Ego,
late,
he's sensitive. So now you got what his ego has been built on is being this character, which I really think he's more so of that stylish dude, that anyways, if I listen to his music, I don't really listen to it that tough, but now he's been put in a situation where he's being painted as a snitch and that's the narrative that's being pushed, but what's going on with his mental health, et cetera. So that was kind of where I was thinking about when I think me and Beethoven, or I sent Beethoven some information about it. And why does he have to be a super gangster? Our culture is the only one that you got to be that. You know what I mean? But Jamie, I know you said snitch, so
no, I ain't even gonna go there because
okay,
I'm just looking at when I look at why do black men have to be super gangsters,
right,
or high value businessman, something that changed my life as a young dude. You know what I mean? People used to come to the games and bet if I was gonna run for 100 yards.
Yeah, you was
the dope dealers off of the block, and they used to, oh, you gonna do it this week? I got this, and this on it. You know what I'm saying? My godfather was one of the biggest weed sellers in Palm Beach County. If you came up in the 90s, you could guess one or two people. And I remember going to a Dolphin game with him. And we were going down to Miami Stadium and Dolphins were playing the Redskins. Never forget it. And he was a big betting dude. And something happened and he took off his jersey, threw it to the back seat to my face. And he said, listen, let me tell you something. He said, you don't ever do what I'm doing. It's that conversation that you have with your sons, right? Even though he doing wrong, been in jail plenty of times, cash. Told me back then in the day, say, hey, I offered my mom a $200,000 house back then, you know what I mean? 80s, 90s, and she wouldn't do it. But he said, I don't never want you to do this. He said, you let me deal the dope, you go play ball. And me seeing him go to prison several times, and I always remembered that conversation. I mean, being robbed, his dogs being shot, even he had big dogs be shot because people knew, cash was in there. And, for a little while, I got to be real with y'all, you know what I'm saying? People know me now, but they don't know, even though he said that, I tried to dabble in it a little bit, you know what I mean? But understanding that you can spend a quarter of your life or half of your life or all of your life, well, somebody gonna tell you it's time to get up, it's time to go to bed, or you got to go into prison and you got to fend for yourself. You know what I'm saying? Based on who you are, people trying you. It changed my life forever. When I sit down and I look at the little, star show, Power, you know what I'm saying? And I think about Ghost and him evolving from being that street dude to a high value businessman. Yo, that's something to, even though he never really got out, but that's something to aspire for. You know what I'm saying? This dude owned his own business. He was trying to change his life. He was trying to put his family up. And I think today, when we define super gangster, it's gangster to be business. You know what I mean? It's gangster to take care of business. And when I say that, you ain't got to do it in the streets. You ain't got to make your money a dirty way. It's plenty of ways today that you can go out and you can make dough, bread. You know what I'm saying? You have to be, I'm going to go back to saying you got to have a hustler's mentality, and that's one thing that I do see. A lot of the youngins, they're not hustlers. You know what I mean? They want it to fall in their hands. You know what I'm saying? But to me, super gangster is being a high value businessman, to me, in my opinion. You know what I mean? That's gangster if I take it and I flip the script on that.
I'm going to take it that way too. The gangsters that I knew growing up was my mom and dad. They came over from Haiti with the education they knew in 1980, 1979, right? Didn't know the language, didn't know anything. They came in, made it. Whatever made it was for them, they made it. Because I'm here.
Yeah.
So that's gangster.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right? Because the impact that I am making now, is off of their backs and what they did when they came into this country. They had nothing. They didn't ask for nothing. They didn't beg for nothing. They made and they did with what they had to do. And that's gangster, because that right there showed me and built in me a work ethic, showed me how to be a father to my kids, showed me how to be a husband to my wife. That's gangster to me.
Yeah.
It's not a status. It's not how many, M's I have in the bank account. It's taking something that I can pass along to my kids.
That's
pass on and passing along that they can do the same thing too, because of what those two individuals did 43 years ago.
That's gangster.
That's gangster to me.
Yeah.
I I don't know much about the street stuff and all this other stuff, but I think it's just this culture just has this perception of what this thing means, and they have to be at this level of dangerous and status, and it's what's being pushed out there. But for me, that's what gangster is.
Love it.
So for me, it's a little bit of what all of you all said. Like you said, the problem with when you say something is gangster, it has so many definitions
For sure.
and variations.
For sure.
Gangster should be exactly like what you said, because like I was telling you about that conversation with the 29-year-old. If I asked him, hey man, what's gangster? He might be like, oh boy, gangster, boy, my homeboy dropped this car and this and that and all of this. And this homeboy live with his mama and won't be helping his mama with nothing. But he got a drop car. And I'm just like, and then he might say his other homeboy who a lame or he a square. I'm like, he got a crib with his old lady and he paid the whole rent. And his lady, going to nursing school, and he making sure he taking the weight off her shoulder. I'm like, that's gangster right there. I tell people, I'm just like, hey man, people don't gotta sell drugs. Drugs sell themselves. All you gotta say is you got it. Anybody can do that. That ain't no hustler. Like, but again, our youth don't know it. Like you say, being a high value business, man, they don't know that they homeboy who's selling dope, and they be like, hey man, that man might be making 3-4 bands a week. You don't know that the dude that got the lawn company, he making him $8 grand a week. You know what I'm saying?
I know something.
They don't understand that part, and it's all based on who you have for your guide in life, who your guidance come from. Cause like you say, I look at something and they be like, oh man, that's gangster. He said this, he did that. Like you said, I listen to Gunna songs. I got about a handful of his songs on my thing that I like. Never struck me once as a gangster. And I heard an old gangster say it, a rapper. I think it was one of the locksmiths. I want to say Styles P. And he was talking about that type of stuff. He was like, yo, if that man wasn't involved in none of that stuff and he a civilian, he was like, such thing as snitching for a civilian. He was like, that's what they supposed to do. Now he said, now if he was living that life and doing all of that stuff that they accused of and in the midst with it, he said, oh nah, that's snitching. Because you in the midst. But if Gunna was just an artist on the label making decent music and making money like that, I'm like, I mean, what you expect? Type of thing. But the gangster stuff is the perception of social media and what, like, I hear more and more women nowadays, like, it used to be a thing where, like, long as you knew your man could handle his own and be a protector and provider, that's gangster, whether they said it or not. Now chicks be want to know, oh boy, my man the Eddie's mother. I like a
250.
Like, like, you like that your man's a shooter? Like, girl, you cool that your man's a killer for no reason? Like,
No reason.
But like, it'd be a shooter, but still live with their mama. Like, you a shooter ain't got no money type of thing. But we have to put a hard definition on that.
That's it.
Because back in the days, the gangsters was the dudes who wore suits, carried themselves a certain way, and looked out for the whole community.
Took care of the neighborhood.
Took care of the whole neighborhood.
We'll even take it to the possession of the gangsters themselves. They were quote unquote gangsters back then, but they were taking care of the community though.
Yeah, that.
Robin Hood, baby.
You know what I'm saying?
Robin Hood.
They was police in the community.
I love what you said with your parents, bro, because I tell people, I was like, yo, my dad the richest dude I know. And I saw him get up and go to a job for 37 years. Like, richest dude I know. But so it never, like, street stuff never excited me a certain type of way. I tell people all the time, when I was a young boy, the barbers, when I seen them pull that wad of money out their pocket, I was like,
Motivation.
yo, I like that. But I had enough sense to understand that. I'm like, I'm on 8th Street getting my hair cut, and I see all the dope boys and what they got, and the girls and the cars and the clothes. I never associated that with selling dope. I just associated with making money.
Yeah.
So when I was 14, I wasn't trying to sell drugs. I was trying to go work for my granddaddy lawn and sod company. Because I'm like, my cousin worked with him, and he make $100 a day.
Yeah.
He buy new Nikes every other day. So it's about association. And besides the fact, like I say, I grew up in a home with a sheriff officer, but my biological father, 60 years old, 31 years in prison. So just like you said, half of his life, 60-year-old man, he spent half of his life incarcerated. I tell my son, I say, man, granddaddy done did enough time for me, you, and your kids, bro.
Yeah.
We ain't got to do shit wrong in life, right? You ain't got to prove nothing to nobody.
That's right.
I ain't trying to go.
That's right.
Yeah.
That was my motive. I ain't trying to go. I ain't trying to go.
That's why I got emotional intelligence.
There you go.
Fellas, if you guys could drop whatever you guys wanted to end, your social, your businesses, whatever you guys want people to be part of, so we can do the outro.
For sure.
True.
Man, my name is Lunge Georges. I own Melee Fitness Solutions. It's a mobile personal training company. So my motto is we bring fitness to you. So wherever you at, I'm coming.
True.
We're coming, actually. We expanded. We have trainers and other instructors that we have on staff now. So we are coming out to wherever you are, no matter where you, and virtually too, by the way.
Yeah,
So
Lynn's the man, though.
Yeah.
it's
He
one
is
of
the
my
man.
clients right
He
here.
is the man. He is the man.
Mike Seville, man, real estate guy here in Northern Palm Beach County. You all check me out, Instagram, Facebook, Michael Seville Real Estate.
Kert Harrell. I'm the owner and operator of Proline Cuts Barbershop. You can reach me at Cuts by Kert on Instagram and Kert Harrell on Facebook. And, you know, our motto is we make every cut the best cut. And I also have an apparel line called Proline Approved. So you can go to the website prolineapproved.com or Proline Approved Apparel on Instagram. And, you know, link me up through there.
Jamian Lovett, senior pastor, CEO, and founder of the Rock International Church. I'm a counselor. I'm a pastor, influencer, daddy.
Yes, sir.
All that other good stuff. But more than anything, I'm somebody that you could relate to and talk to. And you can find me on Instagram at IamJLovett, Facebook, Jamian Lovett. Church is The Rock, INT. And it's in West Palm Beach, North Point Parkway, 901 North Point Parkway, Suite 306 and 307. Our motto is you can come the way that you are, but you won't leave the way that you came.
There you
Awesome. Awesome.
go. Yeah. Pleasure, fellas.
Yeah.
Likewise, man. Real good conversation, bro.
Nice meeting you, man.
For sure, man.